I'm Political and you're watching Turn Left. We're here today in Preston at the start of the biggest pro-Palestinian march to ever happen in Lancashire. As you can see behind me, the march has just started, where we've got thousands of protesters on the streets calling for one thing and one thing only: a ceasefire in Gaza.
Long live Gaza! Long live Gaza!
Why do you think it's important that people come out to march today?
Because we have to come out to tell how Palestinian people are in suffering, and the government is not doing, and the media is not talking about much. So we have to come out. So we have to cry out, shout. 10 children are amputated without anesthetic, daily. That's happening in Gaza.
To me, it's obvious that there's a genocide happening, and it's happening like with the green light of our governments. So the least we can do is say no, we object, no to the genocide. And of course there's a historic injustice too, which I've only just woken up to, but that's why I'm here, mostly just the genocide aspect of it. Children, I've seen videos of children shaking violently out of fear. They'll never have a normal life.
I've actually been to Palestine myself. I've seen it firsthand, and the orphans and the refugee camps. They have no voice, they have no humanitarian rights. This is the voice that we have for them, so free Palestine.
Well, it's really important because, as we've noticed, there's a complete, what we're marching for is just unacceptable in the state media. And we expect that, we know that's going to happen, and that's why we marched. Over 30,000 people have died in Gaza, and it's just unthinkable. Everybody knows it's wrong. And really, we're just exposing the absolute atrocities that our government, our state, and the US state are compared, as well as Israel, being funded by America. We have to stop them.
Do you have a message for the government that say that marches like these are hate marches?
Yeah, that's pathetic. You're weak. Look at everybody here. They're completely peaceful people. How can we be hateful when we want to end the mass genocide of an occupied people?
Absolutely disgusting. They're trying to cause more division in the country, which we don't need right now. I mean, that speech by Rishi Sunak the other night was absolutely appalling. Won't be voting Labour. I've always voted Labour, won't be now, because, they're just like second-class Tories, aren't they, basically?
What would Starmer need to do on this issue particularly to make you change your mind? Or is it beyond that?
It's really beyond that, but he'd have to do a total U-turn, wouldn't he, and say ceasefire immediately.
So how does it feel as someone in Preston seeing the presence of the march here today?
Yeah, very emotional. Like, I saw it and I was like, no, I need to wait and just give our support as well, because it's just a feeling that as a mum, as anyone, I get emotional. It's just so important that we fight and we keep going with our messaging. Yeah.
Do you have a message for our government at the moment on this issue?
Ceasefire now, just listen. There's children dying, there's people. It's genocide. And so we need to just keep going with it, and has my full support.
We're both Preston City Councillors, and we passed a resolution calling for a ceasefire in November, and my view is still we need an immediate ceasefire because innocent women and children are dying, and it's absolutely appalling, and that's why it's important to be on the streets here. I've just come back from visiting my son in Melbourne in Australia. Every Sunday I was there, I demonstrated in support of the people of Gaza.
And just with you say that you're councillors, would it be possible for you just to tell us your names and which party you represent in the council as well, if possible?
I'm Valerie Wise. I'm the Cabinet Member for Community Wealth Building, obviously Labour. We have a really good Labour council in Preston. As I say, we passed a ceasefire resolution back in November.
I'm Carol Henshaw. I'm City Centre Ward Councillor, Cabinet Member for Climate Change. And I believe we were one of the first councils to pass the ceasefire motion. It was highly emotional. It was really, it was an amazing meeting but we got it through, and this is just so important to keep going.
In our millions, in our billions, we are all Palestinians. We are all Palestinians.
Some people say that all this happened because of what happened on the 7th of October. Where were they? Were they sleeping for the past 75 years when Israel actually started all of this? The killing of 30,000 plus people. How can that be justified? The killing of innocent women, children. How is that justified? It isn't. Until we stand up, until we raise our voices, until we show the governments that we don't take this no more, nothing will change, nothing will happen.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Gaza!
Free, free, free Gaza!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Gaza!
Free, free, free Gaza!
It's so lovely to see what a mob from Lancashire looks like. A more beautiful mob I've never seen.
Suella Braverman is a racist. Louis Truss is a racist. So don't lecture us about racism when your party is stacked from top to bottom with racists.
We as the people need to stand up, and that includes councils, people in positions of responsibility for us who represent us. They need to stand up and say no more. Anybody can stand up and say this. So why aren't you? Everybody needs to say it is genocide. There are over 30,000 people dead. About 11,000 of those are children. They're now starving and eating animal feed and poisoning themselves. It's horrendous. I keep hearing about the Israeli hostages. We do need them freed. 132 of them were freed by negotiation. Right? That's the majority of them have been freed in negotiation. This murder does not need to continue. Stop the murder, start the talks. Full stop. Peace is the way to go, and that is exactly what movements like this and protests like this are saying, day in and day out.
What do you think of the turnout today? It's been incredible.
Yeah, fantastic. We were keeping our fingers crossed and hoping for 4,000, but it was clearly more than that. It's very difficult to tell. But somewhere between 6 and 7.5 is just beyond our belief. So fantastic turnout.
And why is it important that the people of Preston and the people of Lancashire come together to get behind calling for a ceasefire?
Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. I mean, obviously each town has had its own regular protests. We have in Preston, they have in Blackburn and Accrington. But in between time we go to national. But there is a sense in which what we're trying to do is rebuild a sort of political culture in Lancashire across the towns. It's really unusual to have people from Chorley, Accrington, Blackburn, Lancaster, Preston at the same event. It's not often around social issues that we have a Lancashire-wide thing. So that's a really exciting thing in and of itself. But of course, this is primarily about us campaigning against the atrocities that are going on in Gaza and demanding a ceasefire. So that's the focus. But I think on two levels, it shows the growth of a political movement across Lancashire as it is nationally. That's looking for a political home, and like huge demonstrations like this are part and parcel of that process.
There was a petition signed by, it was a letter signed by every mosque in Preston, essentially calling for the resignation of Keir Starmer if he didn't back a ceasefire. Where are we up to with that? What's sort of happening at the moment with that?
Yeah, well, the request went into the council. They had a long think about it and ultimately decided not to request his resignation. And clearly there's a lot of pressure nationally and regionally on councillors not to go against the party line. And in compensation, what they did do is they took a motion, or a ceasefire motion to council, which passed, which was good. They have other things that they've offered as well, like a street naming in terms of some Palestinian street name. And there was some talk of doing a twinning issue with the town as well. So those are the things that they've offered. It's been 149 days of a genocide, and as time goes on, people become normalised, and it's not something that we can normalise. So we did something different today. We called a march and a demonstration across the county, and people have heard and they've listened and they've come. And I think it only warrants what's been going on. This is clearly a genocide. People cannot tolerate seeing what they're seeing on the social media, and we have to come out and make a difference. And I think we have done that. We'll make the press, and what we try to do is try to show to the people of Palestine is that we care about what's happening to them, and that we'll continue to do what we do because we do care.